Welcome back to this series on business baggage. So I have a real life example that I wanted to give you today, which brought on this series because you know that I'm doing this work too. Well, I hope you do, because this is all part of the process of really doing it in action. And this is why I've always spoken so honestly about these things, because I know myself when I've invested to work with people or I've had teachers in the past, I can tell those people who are still doing it, who are still in the game, or they've got that energy where they're sitting back in the armchair going, go on, entertain me, and then I'll tell you about the good old days. You know those people who are on it and they're training and they're sharp and they're learning and they're failing. And you know the people who are not. They've moved into that, I'm just going to sit back and relax now and maybe be a bit passive aggressive and a bit judgy. You know that feeling. So the example I want to give you today is something that happened about a month ago. And this opportunity had the potential to be quite life and business changing. In terms of business, it would have really taken me up into a new level. It essentially would have unlocked a new door. You know, when you play Candy Crush or something where you get access to like a new thing, it felt like it was that. It was like, oh, I haven't seen this kind of thing before. And I'm really ready and excited to have the opportunity to do that. And then life-wise, it would have been life-changing money. So let's be honest about that, shall we? It would have given me a huge chunk of money in a short period of time, and yeah, that life-changing money. So this is the thing. So this is the process I walked through. When it came in, I looked at it and I was like, I could do this. And I really had confidence in the project and my ability to do it. And even though it felt like a next step up, I knew that I was ready. So there wasn't that humble energy, that overly humble energy that I spoke about in part one of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I can't believe that I'm going to get the opportunity. Oh gosh, I would really love to do that. The energy that I met it with was like, great. I am ready for this. Because also I'd done the work. You know, I did this 10-week acting course last summer, and it really challenged me and stretched me and moved me in a different direction. That sun is really bright. 1 second. Is that going to work? Am I now going to be sitting in the dark? Is that going to work? I don't want to edit this. Okay. Are we good? So I felt like this opportunity came at the right time. I was ready in my head and it went really well. I sent a tape in. I went into the room. The recall was good. I felt like I did a really good job. And then it was a waiting process. Waiting. I thought I would hear on the Thursday. Didn't hear on the Friday. We'll let you know Monday. Finally, the answer came in on the Tuesday. And the answer was no. Did not get the job. And in a way, the waiting process was far worse than the actual no. Because once you have a decision, once you have a no, you're like, okay, I now know what I'm doing. And sometimes when you've got something hanging over you, you're like, I just need to know either way. That's kind of how I see it. But to go back to that process, I now feel really good about it. And I also now have a test to whether or not I have moved with it and processed it. Because just 4 weeks later, I am now in a similar situation where I am waiting for another yes, in another circumstance, in another life and business changing opportunity. And this is the interesting thing, because when I go back to that old way, and if you haven't seen part one, go back, of the overly humble energy or the scarcity of believing that you get one chance, I would have huge gaps of opportunity. So huge gaps between getting really, really close and then getting a no, and then maybe not getting close to something else for like another 2 years. And I also realize now that this is my responsibility, and this is available to me and it's available to you to speed up the process. We are in an abundant universe where there isn't just one thing. You won't miss it. There are so many different ways in which to get your dreams. And the universe will be like, oh, you thought it would happen that way? No, I'm going to throw this at you. How many people have met people that they've ended up, I don't know, living with on a chance meeting? You thought it might happen in a fancy restaurant on a date via a dating app, but then suddenly you meet somebody at your bus stop whilst you're both waiting for a bus. Like, there are so many different ways to do this. And what I have noticed is that this is truly my responsibility to take responsibility of my own stuff and clear it up. And so many people do not do this. Like the amounts of times where I've seen people using the opportunity of a meeting to spend all of the time talking about their stuff, talking about what happened, where they felt disappointed, going into the hearsay, like this wasn't fair, this went on. And then they get into the meeting and then they realize, oh no, I haven't actually said the thing. I used to have this all the time as an acting agent. I would have meetings with clients that I was really excited about, and they would spend the first 3/4 of the meeting slagging off an old agent. And what it was doing was it was showing where they were up to and who they were, as in they were stuck in the past. They said bad things about people behind their back. And what they actually needed to show was how talented they were, where they were going next. Almost like if you went on a date. You don't want somebody to wang on about what a psycho their ex-wife was. It's like, wow, why are you using that time to talk about that? Also, if somebody started saying that their ex-wife was a psycho, I'd be looking at them, not necessarily the wife, because they would be my point of reference. So the thing I would like you to do, first and foremost, is I want you to consider, based on your business baggage of all the things, of what happened and what did you learn. And maybe take a couple of scenarios here. Maybe take a couple of the ones that feel really emotive to you, that you can recall in a moment. Maybe the ones that like really sort of cut a bit close to the bone, where you're like, oof, yeah, that was painful, or wow, that was a lot of money. I remember one when I was about 23, I was offered it. Again, I can just tell you the story because again, it was emotional. I was offered a job that would have been about £20,000, and within 10 minutes they took the job away because I wasn't 25 and I had to be 25 to advertise alcohol on TV. And that can still be like, oh wow, that might have meant I got on the property ladder earlier. Maybe that would have been all of these things, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But it's one of those that was like, wow. But what I had to do was I had to learn from it. And so when I went back and did this exercise, I was like, wow, I was holding the energy of a 23-year-old who could earn 20 grand in a day or two. Wow. Okay. I hadn't seen it. I'd almost seen that I was a 23-year-old who'd had £20,000 taken away from them. And so that reframe really changed. And as I go into nearly 20 years later, I'm like, if I could do that at 23, what can I do at 43 with all these layers of experience? So shifting these things around will really help you to move forward. So when I go back to this moment a month ago, I really learned that these things are closed for me. That was one of my biggest takeaways. It's like, if I can get that close once, I can do it again. So when I do my 15-minute run every single day, I have this sort of little marker, and there's only once that I've been able to do this particular route and been fast enough to hit the 15-minute mark at my gate and really kind of run at that speed. Many times I'm like just slightly down the road. But the way that I did that was I had to build it up. And I noticed things like, wow, you've knocked a minute off your time there. You've got further. You made it to the next car along the road there, the next parking space. You must have increased your pace from yesterday. Really noticing all those things. If any of that has resonated with you, if you need a strategy, if you need to make it real, not random, make it happen, drop me a message. I would love to help and support you, and we can go from there. Lots of love, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.